Getting everything set up. There we go.
All good. Pushing live. We should be live. For anybody that's out there in YouTube land, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Let me get YouTube pulled up here.
There you go. Beautiful. Looks fantastic. Look at that. Okay. You know, Jonathan, we were talking earlier with actually one of our traders, and our trader or our member was saying that so how's your day? He said, look, I was up $1,000. Now I'm down $400. And he said, any advice for what I should do? And I said, look, my best advice I can give is like just stop. First thing you do, put your tools down, stop for the day. In fact, you may even want to stop for the week because those days where you're really green and then you sort of bring yourself to red are psychologically very challenging. At least I've always found them challenging. And I find that they really set me off for the next couple of days. It takes me a while to sort of get over that. I was curious from your point of view, maybe you'd have some better advice as to what they should do or how to handle those, because that's a really big sort of emotional swing in the course of a day.
It is. And this is where kind of knowing yourself as a trader is really important because sometimes that triggers people going on tilt, really not being able to concentrate, sometimes bringing out tendencies to overtrade or revenge trade. But I have more experienced traders who have understand because they've had so many reps and so many days of the emotional and financial volatility that they're always looking for the next good trade. And so they don't want to give up an opportunity to see a good trade that may be present. Some days they may start down 400 and then go up 1,000. Other days they may start up 1,000 and go down 400. So it's really more important to kind of know how you're wired, what it's triggering in you. There may be days where you're feeling like, I just went, there was a $1,400 swing, like you said. But, some of those trades, they were anomalies. I really felt like I stuck with my process, did exactly what I wanted. So I don't want to be too bummed out. Let me just stick with that and hopefully I'll get rewarded. There are other days where you may look at that swing and go, I've just made some really pretty poor trades getting away from my plan. And in that case, you may say, listen, I just need to step back, shut it down for today and reset for another day.
I like it. That's better advice.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because you're right. I answered it more from my point of view. Like if I had that big swing, the only way that could have happened is if I broke my rules. But you're right. I don't really know what their objectives are, their rules, how they trade. I mean, they could have a $5,000 objective on the day, and so a $1,000 to $400 maybe is no big deal. I don't know.
Yeah, this is where you really need to see somebody's track record, how much money they're putting at risk, what's their normal volatility in terms of their trading account. The nuances of the individual trader become very important because, what looks to you like a horrible day may not be a horrible day for me, or vice versa. So this is where people kind of, again, know your trading style, know your personality, and know what your history is. If you've been trading a long time and you've been through the wars, you may be able to withstand some of that volatility financially on your P&L in a way that maybe somebody who's newer to the trading business has a harder time doing.
Yeah. True. Very fair. I hope to get to that point where it's no big deal for me, but $1,000 is still a big deal in any direction.
Well, to me, this is where I think sometimes it's important to separate out the money, the dollars, from the quality of the trade. I've had traders, make trades that they would do again, and they've lost money, and traders that know, man, I got lucky on that one. I really didn't. I went against what I said, and it just turned the right way. But if I keep swinging at pitches like that, I'm going to be batting under 200 kind of thing. So I think, that's, everybody's tolerance level, loss gain tolerance level is different based on their own financial situation, risk reward, the history of their trading, success, failure, experience, a lot of factors that play into that.
Yeah, and Sheldon, exactly. I mean, I don't think in terms of ours, but you're right. We do talk about that a lot. So your which is your your risk amount, and it could be in this $1,000 to $400 example we're using that came from a trader. Like if his R was $500, for example, so he was up 2R and now he's down, sort of 0.8R. So it's not such a big deal in a swing, as opposed to if he had maybe a $50 target, he might have been having a fantastic day because he was up 20R, but now he's down like 8R, right? And that's a much bigger swing in terms of what he's doing. So it's a good point that you have to sort of balance, I think, that risk reward, and like we're saying. So anyways,
and especially on the upside, I think one of the things that's very important is if you're an experienced trader and you're up a certain amount, you may just, and you're trading well, sometimes I've had traders like they're not interested in shutting it down. They want to look at the next good trade. But maybe you're a younger trader and now you've exceeded by double the upside. And one of the reasons that you may want to just lock it in and stop trading for the day is that now you've gotten to a different threshold. It's now that confidence level, let's say, of making $500 when your biggest day was 250, is now could be etched in your DNA. And by stopping then and locking that in, there's a confidence building aspect to that for especially a newer trader that is very important in terms of your ascent and your growth and development. A more seasoned trader may not want to be hampered by those limits and continue to trade on because they've had multiple big days and they're just seeing the market well. So again, this it's very individualized in terms of what it is, but I believe that when it's something that exceeds the normal goals, you kind of want to lock it in because that can be a very important factor moving forward in your trading confidence.
Yeah, and you make me in saying that, you make me think of Andrew, for example, who had a red day yesterday, as most of our members here know, and and he's able to sort of shake those off. He's like, you know what, I had a bad day. He obviously wasn't feeling well. He didn't really realize it till later that he was just not feeling like how badly he was feeling, but he came back today and had a fantastic day. So for him, it wasn't a psychological burden. He was able to manage that effectively and say, all right, I get it. He wasn't totally unhappy with his trading, it just didn't work out. And it's rare that he has a red day, but he's been trading long enough that he can manage that, very effectively.
Well, Peter, this is why reviewing your trades is very important, because let's look at the baseball analogy. You could go 0 for 4 in a baseball game, but be swinging at good pitches, hitting line drives that are caught. Now you're bummed out that you haven't gotten a hit that day. But if you go back and look at the video, you're seeing that you're swinging at pitches in the strike zone. You're making good contact. Just that day, they didn't fall in for you. Whereas somebody else may get 2 hits in a game, but they're swinging at pitches out of the strike zone, and they're lucky to just dink one in or dink one there. So I think sometimes trading can be similar. When you review your trades, you might see that there are losses, but that you see that you made good trades that just didn't work in your direction. And sometimes you're rewarded for trades that were a little iffier, that lower conviction trades, that you didn't stick to your process or your strategy. And that's not something you want to continue, even though you got away with it in a particular day.
Yeah, that's fair. Guys, just to bring us back to the markets for a second, keeping an eye on work. Work was just hitting its head on $30. It just, as you can see on the screen there, just sort of bounced off. It came down a good 20 cents. So Chris, it looks like your forecast so far is proving correct. It is not making it through 30 today. So we'll see. It's got 20 minutes, a little under 20 minutes left. We'll see what happens. My AMD trade, I notice it's looking very, very similar to the overall markets, the SPY index, isn't it? So it's just bouncing the exact same way. It's like a bouncing ball here. As long as the bounces get smaller and eventually it falls off the edge of the table, I'm good with it. But we'll see what happens. I've got lots of room to let this thing just bounce around, so we'll see. And then Lyft was the other one we were watching because Thor was in it, and he was looking for a pullback to VWAP, but as I said, it doesn't look to me like this thing's eager to go back up anytime today. With 19 minutes or 18 and a half minutes now, it looks to me like this thing is probably just going to either trend sideways or go a little bit lower into the close. We'll see. Uber was Uber's reporting right after the close, right? So
yes, it is.
That is going to have a material impact on Lyft after hours. For now, Yeah, we'll see what happens. Uber's just sort of hanging around here. All right. Anyways. All right. Those are the key
So
things.
there's a question from Jennifer L. She's been very frustrated with her trading. I can relate to you, Jennifer. I've been there when I first started as well, where she's actually considering a strategy of taking the opposite of what she thinks. Is there any history to this working?
I would be fairly confident in saying that that's not a long-term pathway to
No.
success. You don't need a PhD in psychology, I think, to come up with that one. But Jennifer, I appreciate the struggles, but I'm not sure that's the direction you want to go. I'm not sure there's any great empirical data to support that as being a viable long-term solution for successful traders.
And we all chuckled, Jennifer, only because I can speak
said
for
and jest meant in
myself.
earnest, right? Yeah.
Is because I've thought the same thing when I was starting out.
And
Here's
I have
the thing about
Why am I always wrong?
Yeah. Which trader?
You do understand.
Go ahead, Jonathan.
No, Peter, I'm sorry. Just to interrupt that. A lot of times there's a recency bias. The real point is that when there's a string of days or trades which you're doing well, you're never thinking that, right? It's just when you're thinking like, I'm thinking A, and it always turns to B. So there's kind of a selection bias in terms of how our minds work, pointing out the things that are not working and tending to minimize the positive things. So there's this negative bias that we generally have in terms of overemphasizing the things that we appear to have done poorly or wrong.
Yeah. So I think all of us have been there at some point where if I'd just done the opposite of everything I thought, I'd be having such a great day, right? But I used to sit here all the time and say, if I just flipped a coin, I probably would be doing better than I've done, where I think I've like trading a strategic edge. I think the challenge with the actual technical challenge, I would argue, with trying to do that is you will actually get better. Like you do get better as a trader over time, or at least you get more information off of which to base your trades. You will start not knowing which way you actually think it's going to go. So now it feels easy to say, well, if I think it's long, I'm just going to go short. But if that actually starts to work, next time you see a trade, you're going to be thinking, so I think it's going to go long, so I should go short, or maybe I should go short because I should go, like you're going to start questioning which is the actual direction you think. If that strategy even worked for a couple of trades in a row, and that's where life would get very complicated, I would think.
Well, Peter, when you do that, basically you're saying that my strategy is really no strategy at all, because my strategy means I'm changing every time, which is really the definition of not really having a strategy.
Well, there you go.
That's where you
might as well get the coin out, right?
And then we have Bobby there, Bobby N. He's asking tips for being more disciplined. He falls into that category of always wanting to be in a trade and just can't stick to just scanning and waiting.
I think
for it.
the key tip, I think, is that you can't wait to the moment it happens, because trading becomes kind of a rational intellectual process, and then when you're in the trade, a lot of times emotions take over. So this is where your non-trading time becomes very important. You really need to spend time off of the trading day to really think kind of about your discipline. What it is that you want to be doing, making a commitment to yourself to follow through on that plan, actually even doing some visualization of seeing a trade, seeing it, testing your emotions, and then kind of making sure, kind of almost going through the process visually of making the decisions that you want to make. And then I would have some pre-trading day mental reminders just about that this is, having those reminders right in front of you to basically slow down during those times and try to take the emotion out of it. Try to stick with what your plan is. The emotions are going to kick in when there's money at play, but it's really important to just stick with what you said. Discipline is something that is kind of an incremental, gradual kind of process, and often it's 2 steps forward and 1 step backward, but it can't just be worked on in the moment. Discipline is the day-to-day routine practice, getting the reps over and over again There's no fast forwarding kind of working on discipline. It's the product of a long-standing pattern of sticking to things and following through on a day-to-day basis, trade by trade basis.
Yeah, and just really believing, making it a belief of yours that this is what I'm going to do and this works. And once you believe it, it becomes easy to do. It's harder when you don't fully believe in yourself. That's what I've found.
Yeah, and what I would also say is I think you need to set up kind of guidelines for yourself. I know since I've been a long distance runner for many years, and a lot of people saying, well, like, how do you build the discipline to go out every morning? And I remember early on in my running career, especially during when I was in the Northeast and during those, February mornings when it would be at 5:45, it'd be pitch black outside and 14 degrees with a wind chill of -3. Like, there's nothing more when the alarm goes off that you want to do is to stay into bed. So I would make sure that I would have laid out my running clothes nearby immediately. And what I would absolutely make sure is I would never get into an internal debate with myself as to whether I wanted to get up or not. Because once you entertain the debate, you're only entertaining the debate to convince yourself to do the thing, to not do the thing that you've set out to do. So I think, this is the process of, if there are some external kind of guidelines that you can help you. Some people, like with exercise, write it down on a sheet of paper. They keep a log. They kind of make themselves accountable. So I think discipline is the same part of the process with the trading, is to kind of accountability and ownership, and discipline is really important.
Yeah. I actually have a set of PowerPoint slides that I go through every morning just to remind me it's my rules, things I believe in, my beliefs, and then what I want to see. So it's just fresh in my mind. It takes me about 5-6 minutes to run through it.
Right.
I've found it really helps me out.
Let me we've got one of our YouTube viewers who's asking about Beyond the Meat, as we like to call it here. Let's take a look at Beyond. It did sort of hit a bottom. I don't see a strong pattern in it right now. To me, it looks sort of like it's just chopping around here into the close. If it was earlier in the day, that bottoming pattern might be something I would be tempted to see if it's strong above VWAP to take it long here, but not with 10 minutes left in the day. I wouldn't be touching this. There's just not enough time for an actual setup to play out, in my opinion, unless you're just taking a momentum trade. We were being asked a question.
Uber finally broke down.
Yeah, I saw that.
Sorry, Peter.
That's all right. I saw that, and Uber broke up here. Sorry. In the last couple of minutes. Oh, I did not see that, actually. Mike was asking about, what about the opposites? Fear of entering a trade when everything is telling you to do so. Mike, I am extraordinarily experienced with that, because that under trading and my TTDT, the take the damn trade expression that I like to use is one that I am all too familiar with. My best advice, and then I'll let the expert answer, would be the key thing is you got to figure out what is, for you, what are you afraid of? Are you afraid of losing money? Are you afraid of being wrong? And those are different things. I would argue very different things. Are you not confident in your analysis? You've got to sort of figure out the source of that. And then you can start to address it in whatever manner. The best way usually is to get out of a live account, go into sim, and build confidence that it's actually going to work. And that's the repetition in my experience. What I had to do is go back and I needed to do that exact action several times and say, you know what, it does work. Not every time, but I know that, it's going to work whatever the number is, 60% of the time, 70%. If you're lucky, it's 75 or 80%. But get to the point where you say, look, I know that it's not going to work every time, but it's going to work often enough that I need to take it consistently, such I can let that pattern play out and then reap the rewards. More expert of an answer, Jonathan, or a different approach?
Yeah, I would say the key factor there, I think, is what you said, is kind of knowing what your triggers are, knowing your personality, how you're wired. This is kind of where reviewing your trades is important. because there are certain things that are going to trigger these kinds of responses. And it may also vary. Again, sometimes it's the money, sometimes it's the wanting to be right. Like you said, I agree. Wanting to be right and fear of losing money are two different things, but they can demonstrate themselves in similar kinds of ways. So I think, two things can happen. You can feel uncomfortable and not want to do something and still do it. Both things can coexist. It's very hard. Usually when we feel uncomfortable, we want to respond in a way that's going to take away the discomfort or the anxiety or whatever it is at that moment to make us feel better. Well, that's not necessarily the way we get better. And so there is an aspect of learning and growing in trading where there's a natural component of you feel uncomfortable, but that comfort starts to grow when you trust yourself and put yourself out there. And like Peter said, trying it over a period of time, it may not be right all the time. Again, this is where people who are a little too perfectionistic can be problematic because it's very hard for them to accept to be wrong, even in small doses. And the best traders I've seen, are willing to be wrong, let it go and move on. That's part of the nature of trading, is that, you're not going to have 100% winning percentage.
I would love 100% winning percentage. If you can find me that strategy,
I want to know that strategy.
Exactly. I will use that.
Yeah, but Peter, I've seen traders with much higher winning percentages making a fraction of the money of traders with lower winning percentages who, when they see a really good trade, are able to not only get in big size, but allow that to run to the point where they make, where they're really doing well. So I think especially early on, your winning percentage is important because you want to learn and you want to feel like you know how to make good trading decisions. Yes. And then the secondary feature, of course, is how you let those winning trades run, and then the sizing of that. And then, of course, the willingness to get out of losing trades at a reasonable place and not getting stubborn and fighting those losing trades and losing 3 or 4x as opposed to X.
Right. That's a good point. You're right. It isn't all about that winning percentage. We were talking about this earlier. There's a lot that goes into your strategy that will determine how you manage the trades. That management of the situation is as, if not more important than sometimes, again, the frequency with which you can exercise it. Because you're right. I mean, if you can, hey, if you've got a strategy that only works 50% of the time, but you're consistently making 4 times what you lose on any given trade, that's a great strategy, right? Because on any given instance, you should basically be able to get a 3R or 3X type of return, right? So
the danger early on is that sometimes early on in people's trading careers, they focus too much on when they've had some success from a trading perspective in terms of winners, is they try to size up too quickly. And then they sometimes lose sight of the most important thing, which is making good trading decisions and the quality of the trade. So you don't want to get into a lower quality trade and now go into 2x the size. And again, that's the confluence of events that becomes problematic from a financial point of view.
Yeah, I completely agree. The process, that's when I believe having a good laid out plan that you want to see yourself progress over, whether you're in it for 6 months, a year, 2 years. I mean, my plan is 5 years, so I'm 2 years into it. And it's little increments that you make every day. And whenever you can accomplish a little increment, it just builds your confidence that you're moving in the right direction.
Yep.
Now, if you could only eliminate dollars altogether, and then your mind wouldn't even think about it, you'd be all.
Yeah.
Man.
Sorry, just answering some questions on YouTube. A few day trading strategies.
No Dr. Katz cartoon questions today, huh, Peter?
Oh well, I mean, I can manufacture some if you want.
That's quite okay. We can wait till next week.
Yeah, well, so that's usually Brian's fault. He's the one bringing that. He was very tickled with your whole conversation about the cartoon. So.
Okay.
We are heading into just a few minutes out of the close. My AMD, as you can see on the screen here, has really just moved dead sideways here. So, but I'm glad that I took the trade, and I'll just hold on probably into the close to see what happens. Work still has not managed to break 30. It's trying again. It had pulled down, and now it's right. Look at how many times it's tested this level. As we were talking about earlier, look at on the daily chart how many times it's hit its head right at this level. So it's tested this $30 mark several times over the last couple of months, as well as it was an area of consolidation back after the IPO. So obviously that $30 level is very significant for work. The day it closes above it, I think we may see some continuation. So today it's still got 2.5 minutes to decide if today's the day, but it's not looking terribly promising. We'll see.
Then right after the close, we have Roku and Uber for earnings.
Yeah, we got a bunch of earnings that are going to happen right after the close. So stick with us, guys. We will take a look at those and see what moves so that we can watch for tomorrow. Those of you that are brave souls may choose to trade some stuff after market. That's not generally what Mike and I are doing, but we'll keep an eye. Maybe something will just inspire us to take a trade. We'll see.
I pay extra commissions after the close. It's got to be really good.
Yeah, there you go. So Vale or VAL, anyways, who's asking about strategies. I've got some strategies that I trade all day. Something we call the lightning bolt strategy, which is a momentum-based trend strategy. When the stock breaks through the VWAP, either to the long side or the short side. It's a little complicated to explain. One that's easier perhaps is a very standard strategy, which is a double top or double bottom. I like to trade those when they're followed by the cross of the price over the 50 moving average, usually at the same time that where the 50 moving average crosses over the price at the same time it's crossing over the 9 and 20 moving averages. So it gives me a secondary confirmation after this double top or double bottom happens. Those we explain in a lot of our course material, as well as other strategies. I like that last one because a lot of people watch that using a lot of different names. And that's one of the things you'll find in trading. The more you watch videos on YouTube or look at trading material, there's a lot of commonality in what you'll find. Everybody puts their little special spin or little sauce on it, but the reality is there's a lot of very common strategies, which is not a bad thing, because the more people that are watching the same strategy, the more it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, so to speak, right?
Prophecy.
Yeah. So that's anyways. So that's how I look at it. But those would be the key ones that I trade. I just want to ask Dr. Katz, you're with us from the cave today. It's just that the background is all black.
Okay, so this is what I'm going to need some I recommendations. So this is this new computer I got, and I want to avoid the fan up top.
Yes.
Do I need to put an overhead light on? Do I need to put a green screen and a little?
It's fine actually. It's just
it actually looks really good.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah, it works well. You can see Mike and I have all sorts of miscellaneous junk behind us. So you're just.
I have the studio audience in the back that is sitting there in the darkness. So this
there you go. Yeah. So work, interesting. Somebody was just commenting on work. So yeah, it took until the minute after the close for it to pop up, and that would tell me, guys, that some of the big money, the institutional money, was not interested in pushing it. Once you had just a few retail traders left after 4 o'clock, sure, the thing popped up. I wouldn't see that as significant, or particularly meaningful. So take it for what you will, but we'll see. Work still closed below $30, I think. Or did it close right at 4? I'm trying to hear. Yeah, we'll have to see when it announces that. Anyways. Yeah, so earnings. We got a bunch of earnings. Dr. Katz, you're welcome to stay with us. we're gonna start talking earnings stuff here.
Okay, fellas. Well, it's been good being with you today, and catch you next week.
Sounds great. Thank you so much.
Okay, take it easy, fellas.
Take care. All right, we'll just switch over screens here and give us 1 second, guys, and then we'll continue with the close show here.
Roku and Uber both moving higher.
Yeah. Let me
Now Roku's finally getting that craziness you see.
do.
Yeah, I think Roku's definitely going to be in play for tomorrow at some point.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be. All right.
For those that like to trade Roku. I find Roku very, like Norm was saying today in the pre-market, very whippy action on it. If you try to get too much of a stop on it, if you don't give it enough room, it can really get at you.
Pull down the cloak. All right, so let's take a look at what I'm looking for. Here's the stuff that's reporting to after the close here. Takes a second update. Yeah, Roku. The trade desk is always an interesting one because I don't find it, every once in a while it'll have these crazy big moves and then most of the time it's doing nothing of interest. Oh, Yelp, our favorite Yelp. Is it Yelp time again for reporting?
Oh, no, isn't Yelp? Oh, no. Yeah, Yelp. Good old Yelp.
All right, Dropbox. So there's a couple I'm going to put on my list here to keep an eye on for tomorrow. Let me put some rows in here. Dropbox has reported. Surprisingly, they beat their numbers. Well, I guess that's people are using online storage. Let's see, bunch of things have reported that I'm not really worried about watching. Tax deadline. Actually, it's interesting. In the U.S., has the deadline for submitting personal income tax, was it changed?
Yes, they changed it to June 15th, I believe.
Okay. In Canada, we pushed it back to June 1st. I just saw an article that says the White House weighs pushing tax deadline back to September the 15th. So that would be quite a... Maybe they should push
July
it back
15th.
Indefinitely.
There it is.
September 15th.
I could see September 15th, though, too. I mean... There's New Jersey closed all the way to June.
Yeah.
They're keeping their stay-at-home order in place till June.
You have to keep in mind, income tax was meant just to be a temporary wartime measure, which has just never stopped.
Temporary.
Yeah, it was temporary. Temporary.
Name
forever.
one tax that's temporary for me.
Yeah. Yeah, temporarily forever, as so many taxes are.
Because I'm still paying $2.50 for gas here in California.
Wow. Is that good or bad?
That is terrible.
That's terrible. Okay.
That's the same amount that we're paying before this all started.
So gas prices haven't changed in California. That surprises me.
Not really. I mean, they've gone down a little bit, but not like every place else.
Right. Wow. Interesting.
And And then where we're at, if you're in Ventura, if you drive Highway 101 north into Ventura, you can see all the oil platforms out in the ocean.
So Yelp.
So,
Sorry there. Yeah. Yelp. I'm just going to get on to some of the earnings here. Yelp has reported as well now. Looks like they missed their whoops. I've got an echo. Let me turn this off. They beat on sales, which is a little surprising, but missed on earnings quite significantly. So a little mixed results there. Roku reported sales are up by 14 million. And their earnings per share hit the number, so they're right on target there. So again, a little bit of a, sort of an okay number on Roku. I noticed that they're stressing that their streaming hours are up 80% and live accounts grew 38%. So they're obviously trying to create some positive news out of it. That's going to set some expectations higher for the next quarter as well. Uber.
did you hit Uber already?
No, I'm just seeing Uber here now.
Uber
so
missed
Uber,
earnings per share $1.70.
Yeah, quite significantly, right?
Negative $1.70, and they were estimating a negative 83 cents.
Now their
But
sales
they beat
were
on
pretty much right on.
sales
Yeah, sales were barely up.
in line.
So we'll definitely put Uber here. It looks like in the room, Eamon is busy trading after hours here, so he's traded Dropbox. Wow, he got a 60-cent pull on Dropbox here. Let me call that up. He managed to get it up the pole here as it ran up. So good for you, Eamon. He's getting good now. He's not only trading like an expert during trading hours, he's taking the after hours stuff too. So Roku will have to add for tomorrow. That should have some action. The trade desk is out. They beat on both top and bottom lines, sales and earnings. So TTD is that symbol, the trade desk. As I said, it doesn't normally move. I don't normally like trading it. Interestingly, it seems to be moving down despite the fact that they beat their numbers. I don't see if they maybe pulled their forecast for the next quarter, but where we're at. Uber is moving down off of that news. Yeah, I don't know what to expect out of Uber, William. It's a good question. Sorry, out of Dropbox. I can't remember, I guess I've never paid attention to what Dropbox typically does after hours to know, will it drop back down, open near where it closed, or what? I'll have to watch it, I guess, and see what happens. So yeah, and Eamon, you do like those quick moves after hours. I know you play them, so good for you. Well done. Let's see, we got a couple others. Montage Resources, not something I would watch. Turtle Beach, here's one. We've watched them because they had some good movement probably about a year ago. They were really moving, but it's a smaller stock. I can't remember if it's actually a low floater. It's close to one. But HEAR is Turtle Beach. They make gaming headsets. Mike, have a Turtle Beach. That doesn't look like a Turtle Beach logo on it. So
No, this one's an MSI.
there you go. It's something else altogether. So, but anyways, they beat both top and bottom lines, sales and earnings. So good, handy beat there too. It looks like. Like they beat their sales by 6 million over 29 million. So that's a good. Good percentage. And then the earnings per share, they're expected to lose 72 cents. They only lost 23. So that's like 60-70% better than was anticipated. So that's good. I might put that on my list to keep an eye on to see if it's doing anything in the morning too. We're going to put that here. Keep an eye on that. All right. Uber is leaking off. I wonder what the Lyft is doing. Lyft is not moving much. Where's got a little action?
No.
Dropbox spiked and is now settled here.
Uber is just slowly leaking down.
Turtle Beach doesn't have a lot of volume. All right. What else? Seemed to me there's a couple other things we had. Let me go back to my sheet here. What else would we be waiting for?
And that. I didn't see anything else because you already got Yelp.
GoPro, yeah,
Got
maybe.
Yelp, Uber.
Stamp
Roku.
was Stamps.com. That was an interesting one. It was a great trader around the time they announced canceling their exclusive contract with the U.S. Post Office, but I haven't seen it move much since. That one I will just leave. If it shows up on the gappers list tomorrow, I'll worry about it. If not, I won't. Same thing with GoPro. It's a smaller company, so it doesn't tend to move. If it does, I'll watch it. There's a few on here that I know I've watched in the past. OLED, Universal Display Corporation. Again, they're just ones that if they pop up. Zillow might be worth watching. I haven't seen numbers on Zillow. Have they announced yet? Let's see here. Which is ZG. I think they're Z and ZG, right? They've got two tickers. Zillow Group. I always forget which one has more volume. Yeah, it's just Z or Z. Z has more volume, so watch that. But Zillow Group is reporting after hours. Not much action on it now, and I don't see their earnings are out yet, so they seem to be late. And, oh yes, good old Yelp. Well, I gotta watch it just out of historical interest.
Yeah. So tomorrow, Kronos reports before the open.
Yeah, it's I don't like trading Kronos. I often watch it. I think I very, very rarely traded it.
I've had success with them.
Really?
Not so much CGC, but Kronos. I always seem to have success with.
Really? Okay. Well, there you go. Yeah, I don't see anything else tonight. A lot of stuff reporting tonight. There's a ton of reports coming out, but nothing I'm going to keep an eye on. We've got 339 different companies that are releasing earnings after the close, with over 500, almost 600 having released earnings today. So that's a lot of tickers. Tomorrow's not quite so busy a day. 81 though reporting before the open, so it'll be a busy open. Like this morning's open was relatively busy. We had a number of things that we were keeping an eye on, some of which didn't play out, some of which did. Let me just bring up some charts. We'll take a look at that stuff for today. I had Grubhub on my list because they reported, didn't end up trading it. I didn't like the price action. It looks sort of like a good move out of the open this morning, but not something that was a great mover when I was actually watching the price action. Had two that again normally are pretty low, just slow movers. TMUS and Viacom, VIAC. TMUS didn't really do much. You can see it's sort of a slow, very slow, steady climber through the day. But again, I never saw like a great entry signal that allowed me to take that trade. Viacom had a little more action, just in terms of percentage change. You can see it moved a little more aggressively, but again, never really saw a good entry signal for something that I could take. I mentioned earlier Teva, Teva, however you say that, TEVA. Anyways, it doesn't. I actually traded this 4 times right here off the open in the initial trades. It's trading more like Thor, I have to admit, off the open than myself. But hey, it worked, and I had a few good trades. I was actually convinced that it was a long play, which is why all 4 were long. And you can see, though, it failed quite clearly at where I had a daily level at 1205. But and it was more of a better short play, but I didn't take it short. So you can see I had a bias and that hindered me from actually seeing what the price action was doing. So I could have had an opportunity, because it did actually give a good signal after failing that and then breaking down through VWAP, but I just wasn't so inclined, so I wasn't able to take it. Peloton was the talk of the day, as that there was a couple of good plays on it, and that a number of people I know were sort of watching it and trading it. Andrew traded it successfully long and short in the open here. And then last but not least I'll mention is Lyft, which we were watching because Thor took that trade sort of right here. He was actually struggling with it on VWAP. It was giving him a hard time until it finally broke up, and then he was just sitting nice the whole day, and he was able to sort of take his partials, add back in where appropriate, and he played this thing pretty much all day. So a number of good trades out there and good opportunities if you were watching the stocks. So there's others I haven't mentioned, such as SQ and PayPal, Win and Etsy. You know, there's a lot of stuff moving today since we had such a large number of stocks trading off of earnings. So, all right, busy day. Another busy day in the markets. We will see you for all of our lifetime members. Our lifetime members webinar was rescheduled to tonight. So just a reminder, that's in the webinar room on our site. So hopefully we'll see you there for how to use moving averages. And Thor will join to talk about how you leverage add-ins and partials to create more profitable trades from your original entry. So that'll be Andrew and Thor doing that session tonight in the lifetime members webinar room, if I can say it. It's like a tongue twister. And then I don't think that's it for, extracurricular activities we have scheduled for this week. We always open our room to our members at 7:30 in the morning. And we go live on YouTube with the pre-market show with Norm and Carlos that do an absolutely fantastic job. So these things we've been talking about tonight, they will be watching to see if they're on the Gappers list, and they will be talking about them if they are. So stay tuned for that if you're on YouTube. If you want to join us, we're always eager to welcome new members who are coming into our room every single day. We'd love to see you with us. And if you're considering it, you can take advantage of a 1-week trial. You can use the code PREMARKET24 to join us for a $24 trial. It actually would be a great time to join this weekend if you wanted to, because then you can get a full week and you can sort of trade with us next week, see what it's like being in the room, see what it's like with our members that are always providing help and support as well as active trade callouts in that room all day. And we are here from 8:30 in the morning, 7:30 is when I open the room, right until about 5:30 when we shut the room down. So hopefully you will actually join us in the room if you're on YouTube and see what it's like to trade live with us all day. So with that, Mike, as always, thanks for being with me and through the close.
Thank you, Peter.
And we will call it a day here and see you guys, as I said, tomorrow morning. So take care, everybody.
Everybody